Jeffrey Ball is the scholar in residence at Stanford University's Stair Taylor Center for Energy Policy and Finance. He is also an award-winning writer whose work focuses on energy and the environment. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeffrey.
Pleasure to be with you.
Well, we are months away past COP26, and now we have this Aspen Ideas event on climate in Miami. How much can these gatherings really do in affecting immediate change?
Well, what they can do is focus attention. We're sitting here at a time of a confluence of, I think, two forces that are causing expectations of action that are really unprecedented. One is what your piece 2 pieces ago talked about, which is wildfires, and wildfires are just one of a panoply of natural disasters linked to climate change that are intensifying, and they're intensifying so broadly across the world, not just across the United States, and so intensely in certain places that they're causing people who doubted the relevance of climate change, didn't think much about the relevance of climate change, to think a lot about it because it's hitting them in their homes and in their pocketbook. That's one thing. The other thing, and it's related to the first, is that there are pledges by most of the Fortune 500 companies, by governments around the world, that they're going to attempt pretty radical reductions in their greenhouse gas emissions. Now, your listeners may have heard about something called net zero pledges. They're pledging effectively to neutralize their emissions by the middle of the century. The problem is that that's a long way away, and if you believe climate scientists, we don't have that long to wait. And so the whole point of getting people together in gatherings like the one in Miami is certainly to come up with solutions, but I think also to get people to talk about action, not just a couple of decades from now, but material action now. And I'll just say that, fixing cruise ships in Miami, as your piece talked about, is wonderful, but it's not going to move the needle on climate change. And so the challenge is to do something big enough, things big enough that matter, and to do them quickly while keeping the economy growing.
Well, to follow up on that, can countries around the world make those pledges, do these things, take action when so many other things are going on, like the pandemic, the economic crisis in much of the world? Can climate be a priority still?
Well, we obviously don't know if they'll do enough, and I think it's really important to emphasize that the goal here is not merely action for the sake of appearance. The time for that is past. The goal here is action that is significant, that is deep enough actually to make a difference in the planet. But I'll just say that we're living here, we're amid the war in Ukraine. Prices of fossil fuels are surging, and I actually think what we're finding is that the impetus for action that would have an effect on climate change is intensifying rather than decreasing amid what's going on in the world. When prices are as high as they are, people start to be much more interested in alternatives. And so, with the right policy, it's possible, actually, I think, to leverage what's going on geopolitically right now and economically and pursue additional climate action.
Jeffrey, we have about 15 seconds left. We're out of time, but I have to ask you about this 1.5 degree number in the next 5 years. We're already almost past that. What do you make of that dire assessment?
Yeah, I think, the science is what the science is, and I think it's unlikely that we're going to hit some of the more aggressive targets, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to minimize temperature increases at a level that's reasonable.